Black boys made the wave, these boys don't make a splash. Greedy with a ball, I ain't passing that.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Sick FC, the YouTube channel where we're talking everything football, and today we're going to be talking about England 2, Democratic Republic of Congo 1. Now this was a game that ended up being quite close, even though a lot of England fans and English people thought that England could blow Democratic Republic of Congo away. There are also the people who know a little bit more about football, thinking that this was going to be quite a tough game for England, knowing that our style doesn't really match up very well to Congo's. Now 2-1, carry Kane. That's what we're going to have to call him for the rest of this tournament, guys. Carry Kane, because he is carrying this country on his back. Kane and Bellingham are levels above the rest of the players in this squad. And the fact is, England need to rely on these kind of players. When you've got players who can provide moments that change results, change games, you need to get those players playing well. So it is a big, big plus for England that Kane is scoring goals at this tournament, because if we were ever going to win it, then he needs to be in this kind of form. But that doesn't mean that it was all sunshine and rainbows, because for a large portion of the game, England were trailing to Congo, and Congo scoring early did give a lot of people quite the fright. It wasn't just the goal either. Congo could have taken a 2-0 lead early on in the game, but Yohan Wissa missed. So let's actually get into the action and what happened. So the first goal for Congo, England seemed to be quite high up the pitch. The ball's out wide. Rashford doesn't really get out to the ball. The ball comes in the box. Spence tracks the runner, goes in with the centre-backs. The centre-back's too narrow. Spence tracks the runner, leaving the wide man free, who takes a good touch and beats Jordan Pickford at his near post. Now, Pickford's interesting in this tournament because I think he's looked quite nervy, and he's the kind of keeper that doesn't really... He's not like a Senna Lomans where he's very composed and calm. He doesn't do that. He's quite aggressive and jumpy, do you know what I mean? More of the Joe Hart mould than he is of like the Petr Cech mould, for example, do you know what I mean? But he has been possibly England's best goalkeeper ever when it comes to tournament football. I mean, there's no arguments with Peter Shilton and the like, but I mean, what he's done at tournaments at England, Pickford, is almost unparalleled. So he does kind of have a bit of credit in the bank. For me though, you can never be getting beaten at your near post there. Like, for me, I'd much rather the goalkeeper be beaten at the far post, give the option for him to cut it across you. If he beats you with a great finish, then he beats you with a great finish. But at that near post, you have to be ready to get your hand down. It's a good strike, but I think Pickford will know himself and be disappointed with that. So yeah, England end up trailing. And then after that, I think we had a couple of chances. I believe Bellingham had a header, and we started to create more. And you're starting to think, okay, we're going to come into this game a little bit more. We're going to start applying the pressure. But then, down the other end, Yohan Wissa gets the ball crossed into him. 6 yards out, basically open net. He's got Pickford there, but the goal's right in front of him. He could easily have scored that. Puts it in off the post, and it stays 1-0 to Congo. Because if that goes in, it looks like England could be going home. It really, really does. But by the skin of their teeth, they stay in. They keep fighting onto the second half, and it was looking dire. Like, England were creating chances, but Mpassi, the Congo goalkeeper, had made a lot of really, really good saves. Some that you'd expect him to make, and others where, you know, some good stops. But he does get beaten, and I think the one that beats him is probably, out of all of the saves that he did make, the easiest one to save. Ball gets put into the box by Jude Bellingham. Great cross. No, not Jude Bellingham, sorry. Anthony Gordon. So Anthony Gordon was subbed on for Marcus Rashford, who had quite a poor game, and ends up getting 2 assists. He put it in a lovely cross for Harry Kane, who wins the header, heads it almost in the middle of the goal. The goalkeeper gets a hand to it, pushed it into the corner. 1-1. And from that point there, Congo seemed to start to panic then. They started to sit back in a little bit deeper, and England started to put on a lot more pressure. I think in this tournament, low blocks kind of become a buzzword, but a lot of people don't actually know what a low block is. Like, I don't think Congo was sitting in a low block, so not for the majority of the game anyway. They look really, really dangerous on a transition. They cause us all sorts of problems, and I think England needs to be really careful, man, because if we're going to play this style of football, if we think we're going to press high, then we need to be less vulnerable on the counter-attack. Royce and Anderson as a midfield 2 is supposed to offer more protection to the back 4, but it's really not offering that much protection. I mean, obviously, I'll carry on explaining the rest of the game, and then I'll actually go into some of the players a little bit more individually, because 1-1 after that point, Anthony Gordon, like I said, good cross. Next bit of play, Anthony Gordon again running with the ball, finds Harry Kane with 3 or 4 people around him, and he's just exceptional. He's absolutely world class. He's the best striker in the world. And the things with Kane that I love about him is just how precise he always is. Everything that he does seems to have been done 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times. Every single shot that he takes, it's like a golfer's swing. It is clean as anything. It looks practiced. It's always precise. And this goal that he scored, a lot of Harry Kane finishes will go across the floor in that towards that far corner. Like I was saying, I'd rather Pickford get beaten by a shot like that. That is that classic Harry Kane shot where he's on the edge of the box, he goes across the keeper, hits it hard, the keeper can't get down, and he scores bottom corner. Now, the keeper was expecting that kind of shot, so Kane looks up, and after he takes this brilliant first touch and gets himself a yard to just shift it and shoot, looks up, sees the goalkeeper's giving him the other side, and unleashes an absolute rocket into the roof of the net. No chance for Impasse. 2-1 England. Harry Kane back at it again, carrying England all the way through to the Azteca against Mexico in the round of 16. And that's going to be a really difficult game. Obviously, it's going to be played at high altitude with a passionate, inflamed country behind them. Obviously, a host nation as well. Mexico, this is probably the biggest game in their history. So for England, this next tie is not one to think it's going to be an easy game, because it really isn't. But they will be backing themselves. They will think they've got a better team than Mexico, because they do. So it's going to be a really interesting one. But let's just get into some of the struggles that England have had in this tournament so far, because I think defensively we're lacking leadership. I really think that, like, the first goal that we conceded, it's almost like the communication's not there. You're hoping that someone can tell Jed Spence, you've got to took over, and they've got to spread out a little bit and just make sure each of them are in the right place. Because they're so narrow, and Jed Spence sees that he has to go narrow. If he lets that runner go, that runner's going to score anyway. So he has to tuck in. So I do kind of feel for Spence in that instance, but I don't think he had a good game whatsoever. And Thomas Tuchel spoke about not being able to foresee the injuries that have happened to England's right-back options. But the right-backs that he called up are all very injury-prone players. Like, Tino Livramento's missed countless games for Newcastle through injury. And Reece James, you'd think he'd understand Reece James, because he's managed him before. Like, Reece James was playing full 90s in the group stage that he didn't need to play. This is a guy who's constantly injured. His hamstrings are made of cheese strings, bro. You can't just let this guy play full 90 after full 90 after full 90. It's not going to work like that. You got to protect him. You got to protect him a little bit, because he's a top class player. And you can see when England don't have him, we're lacking. I don't think that Jed Spence is anywhere near as good as Reece James, and I'm sure that most people don't. I think he really struggled with the Congolese winger. I can't remember what his name is, but he's really struggled with him. He looked uncomfortable for a lot of the game, and I think going forward that he doesn't really have that end product that you want. Look, there's no one getting beyond Rashford, so Rashford's best attribute is cutting inside and shooting, or cutting inside and crossing. If he's got no one getting beyond him, he's just going to get crowded out every time he gets to cut inside, and you're killing the wingers. And talking of the wingers, both Rashford and Madueke, not good enough. It wasn't good enough on against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, Rashford has played well coming off the bench, but then he gets his opportunity to start, and you want to see something, and it's not good enough. I do think he does still look likely to create, because he's the kind of player who can score out of nowhere or put a cross in the box that someone can get their head on. I can't even talk. Someone can get their head on, but not good enough. Madueke, if I had to watch Madueke every week, Arsenal fans, I don't know how you do it. I'd lose my mind. This guy is frustrating. The things that he does are just dribbling out of play, dribbling into men, and it's like he never picks to go on the outside or the inside at the right time. So when you want him to go on the outside, he'll go on the inside. When you want him to go on the inside, he'll go on the outside. There's no connection with Jed Spence whatsoever. It's just Madueke 1v1 against the fullback, and it's not working. Saka is injured very clearly. Every time he comes on, he's so much better than Madueke, but he's injured. So I'm looking at this, and I just think the wing options, they're not being helped by the fullbacks, and they're not doing that well anyway. So it's just leading to us looking stodgy in the front line. We're way too reliant on Kane and Bellingham. Like, if Bellingham and Kane don't turn up in games, we're fucked. We're fucked. And like I said, with the lack of leadership in the back four, you'd be worried coming up against a team that's really good on the transition. Look, if you've got to come up against the France or a Brazil, with teams with players who can hurt you on the break, you can't really afford to press high like that and not win the ball. And you also can't really afford to press high like that and be vulnerable at the back. You're leaving you're leaving Jed Spence 1v1 with Vinicius Jr. And Jed Spence is supposed to be good at locking up fullbacks, but I don't want Jed Spence 1v1 with Vinicius Jr. I just don't want that situation to happen. But now, if Congo score that second goal, there's no way England score 3 goals and come back from 2 behind in that game for me. There's no way whatsoever. And like I said, without Harry Kane, they're cooked anyway. I look at Thomas Tuchel and I look at the subs that he's bringing off the bench. Do we just not want to get a foot on the ball in this tournament? I mean, as good as Declan Rice is as an individual and Elliot Anderson is as an individual, as a pairing, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't get this sense, right, with Anderson sitting in front of the back four and Rice crashing the box. I don't get the sense that this is going to work. Like, I just think for me, we need to bring Mainu into midfield. And I know that sounds like a biased Man United point of view of seeing things, but I just think those players in tournaments are the most important players, the connectors. When you look at the classic Real Madrid teams of the past, Luka Modric is such an important player. Modric didn't score that many goals. He didn't get that many assists. Modric's whole role was to get on the ball, get it forward, and get the good players who are supposed to be responsible for creating the goals and winning the games, getting them close together, getting them playing together. Because if you can get triangles between your best players, they'll work it out on the pitch. They'll learn how to break down a team. But if you can't get the ball close, if you can't get those players close to each other and those players close to the goal, you're never going to create anything. And I think Mainu's just that connector. Look, let's get him up the pitch. Let's get Bellingham on the ball around the box. Let's get Kane on the ball around the box. Let's get runners going into the box, because then you can actually cause teams worries if they're sitting deep. I think Tuchel made a mistake in not taking any creative player to bring off the bench. I mean, they've got Eze, but I don't really get the sense that Eze is gonna conjure anything up in this England side. I don't really feel like he's taking responsibility of the game. When Cole Palmer came on in the final of the Euros, he took responsibility straight away, and there are players in this England squad that don't do that. Look, I don't think bringing off Henderson off the bench is gonna change a game in any way, shape or form. I mean, you've got a Watkins or something on the bench, but you're never taking Kane off, and you shouldn't take Kane off. So you're going to put Watkins in the 10. I mean, Morgan Rogers is supposed to be that player, but we haven't seen it yet in this tournament. And when he's come off the bench, I think he's flattered to deceive. Look, he's done really well for Villa, but I just think we had Foden, we had Palmer, we had Gibbs-White, and one of them should have gone. And I'm not saying that one of them should start, but at the same time, you need that creativity. If you don't have it as an option, you are stuck in games where you need to break teams down. So I've got concerns with the squad that Tuchel's picked. However, if Kane and Bellingham can just keep pulling out moments and England can keep it tight, then it is possible to go all the way in this tournament. The side of the draw that we are on is easier than the side of the draw that the other teams are on. So we need to take advantage of that. But yeah, it was an interesting game. Obviously, England will be buzzing to be through into the next round, and that leads to Mexico at the Azteca. Now, Mexico have lost 2 games at the Azteca in 56 years. The game's going to be played at altitude, and with that midfield two of Declan Rice and Anderson, both of them being the type of players that just absolutely run their guts out, I don't know how they're going to cope. I think Rice has been brilliant all season. He's given Arsenal absolutely everything on that pitch, everything, and he gives his all for England. But he's knackered by the end of games, and it's not. You've got options. You don't need to do that. So the whole thing for me is just a little bit concerning. It's just a little bit concerning. If England do beat Mexico, I believe it's Brazil, and then we could get France in the final. So I wouldn't say I'm confident that England can win all those games comfortably, but I do think there is a world where they can win all those games. So hopefully the performances pick up against the better teams and we look a lot more dangerous on the transition, and the defenders manage to deal with the transition of the better players better. I don't know why everyone believes that's going to be the case. But yeah, honestly, it's not been great, but the results have been great. And Harry Kane is here to take us to glory. So everybody just cross your fingers and hope that Kane can save us all. But yeah, I've been Sitboy Joseph, aka Sick SC, aka Joseph, aka whatever you want to call me. This has been a review of England versus the Democratic Republic of Congo. Hopefully the performances get better. Hopefully Kobbie Mainoo sees some fucking minutes, please. God, what don't managers understand? When you play Cobby, you win. Look at Carrick's win ratio with Cobby in the team. Fucking hell. Look, Casemiro looks 100 times better next to Cobby Mainoo. What don't people understand? Only us United fans know. I swear to God, only us United fans know. But yeah, hopefully England can fucking sort it out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, hype, subscribe, all of that. Take care. More videos coming, so keep it locked. See you later.
Black boys made the wave, these boys don't make a splash. Greedy with a ball, I ain't passing that.
Personally, if England are going to call up a fullback whose best skill is inverting into midfield, similarly to Nico O'Reilly, then we should have called up Trent, because Trent's got that kind of delivery that makes us a real threat. Fuck, there's a fucking bee in here, holy shit. Oh my God, I'm out.